And it's very interesting, I think, in recent years, for example, how things like mindfulness and relaxation have drawn on some of these techniques. It seems from, for example, Eastern philosophy, some of the mindfulness techniques and meditation techniques are a lot more related in many ways to Eastern philosophy than they are Western philosophy. But one thing that I find interesting about that is the way that we almost do this watered down version of it in the West, in terms of even stuff like meditation and yoga, compared to what they do, for example, in India. It's very, very watered down. But from what we've spoken about before in the past, and to go back to that idea of quantum physics, whether it be shamans in the past or even some of the yogic practices, I believe, in India, they draw upon some of these ideas from quantum physics, don't they?
Yes, and I'm really interested in what you described there too. I think that a lot of the way that, say, meditation or mindfulness is taught in the West is a bit reductionistic. So we'll look at the practice, which involves slow breathing and getting in a symmetrical position and reducing your thoughts. And yes, that's all well and good. But I think if you miss out from the mystical dimension of it, which is often highlighted in the Eastern traditions, well, to me it's a bit like coffee without the caffeine. It's missing one of the most powerful ingredients, and I think the mystical element is very relevant. And one thing that interests me is if you look at all continents, the majority of people in all continents believe in paranormal phenomena. So either at least some form of telepathy or psychokinesis or synchronicity. Most people in most continents believe that. And most people in most continents would identify with some kind of religion or spiritual dimension in life. Sure, people might not be practicing by going to church regularly, but if you ask people in a census to identify a religion or say whether they relate to a particular religion, the majority of people will acknowledge a religion or some kind of spiritual belief. And then you've got 25 or 30% of people in the Western world who describe themselves as being spiritual but not religious. So why do we strip out that element that to so many people is meaningful and relevant, mind, body and soul? And I know that even in positive psychology, it's looking to allow for more acknowledgement of spirituality, but even then it tends to be in a fairly safe way. There's a lot of emphasis on purpose and meaning. There's not so much emphasis on mysticism or even what I would comfortably call miracle energy in certain situations. Acknowledging that don't really understand that or know exactly what it means, but allowing for things that are beyond what we explain, that have a mystical element to it, but seem to have an influence. If you look at the documentation of all sorts of stories or even some of the things we've described today, there does seem to be a mystical dimension in life.